Welcome to the Midlife Catalyst Podcast, a place where ordinary people share extraordinary stories. I'm Amanda Yance, and I am so excited about today's guest, who not only brings a wealth of experience in education, but in coaching. Her key that really connected me to her is she also is a believer in the catalyst mindset. So with that, Becca, welcome to the podcast and tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super pumped to be here. And I love that you and I both utilize this concept of catalyzing ourselves, right? Internally, externally, right? And how both our external lives mirror what's happening internally. So yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Just a little bit about who I am. I'm in the education world and in the leadership world. So I was a teacher, I was an instructional coach in schools. And at the same time I was becoming an instructional coach, I also became a life coach. So I got really curious about how humans work. And I went from being like wildly ineffective as a coach to like, it really exploded my effectiveness. And it was because I shifted from a task-centered approach to impacting other people to a human-centered approach. We're going to get things done through people's humanity and not around it, right? So I've gotten really fascinated by how our own humanity works and how we can impact those that we lead in this human-centered way. And what I found is we get much more efficient with our time and much more effective.
I love that because the listeners will know I say all the time, AI can do a lot, but it cannot write your life story. And I think it's the same thing. AI can lead us through tasks and efficiency, but you, the individual, have to have the human component. And that's where AI isn't going to replace the people that still have the human understanding and ability to interact.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So in all this work I've been doing, I've been working with schools for over 8 years now, and I travel across the US and internationally and work with coaches and leaders to impact teachers, right? One of the things I've noticed is in schools, change happens often, and when change happens, we must expect resistance. And what's interesting is we want to not only those that are listening, there's the resistance externally, right? Those resisting the change happening, but also inside of us. What resistance is happening inside of us? So as I've been really interacting with schools and am helping them address the resistance and get empowered around it, I developed a framework.
I'm so excited to
So
hear about this.
so I developed this framework around mindsets for many, many years. I've been saying motivations and mindsets matter. That's been my rallying cry. And then when I discovered and all this, I really actually buckled down. I got my master's degree and I was like, I need to figure this mindsets thing out. And what I discovered is we need to go beyond growth mindset. Growth mindset is a starting place, but it is not the whole story. And what's interesting is the growth mindset people. So I actually did work with the people that worked with Carol Dweck. So I don't know her personally, but I know the people. I'm 1 degree away from her, right? So I did work with them, with these like wonderfully very smart psychologists that helped to do the research that discovered growth mindset. And so what they did research after growth mindset got popularized, but no one knows about this research. And so a combination of what they discovered around additional mindsets that we need in combination with other researchers, I created this framework. And it's called the Catalyst Mindsets. And there are 5 mindsets that we need to get ourselves unstuck and empowered, as well as helping others get unstuck and empowered, including those experiencing resistance.
And it's so key. A lot of times people hear, oh my gosh, I have to do 5 things. I just want to do 1. But you're not going to have what we're talking about is systemic, long-term lasting change without all 5. You're going to have a short-term solution or a quick fix, and it's not going to build longevity. So how do your mindsets and your checklist build to that lasting change and growth.
So let's talk about what they are. So we can
Yes.
start to, what I love about
Yes.
them is when people hear them, they're like, it is immediately like people get it immediately. So the 5 mindsets are, one of them is growth mindset. Oh, hold on. Let's back up here. What is a mindset? What is a
Yes.
mindset? So before I even created this framework, I got curious, how can we make growth mindset more human centered? And the first thing was, we actually have to get very clear about what mindsets are.
Yes.
Mindsets are not working hard. Mindsets are not being positive. Or growth mindset isn't, sorry. You can't have a positive mindset. But there's a lot, it's certainly not a bulletin board. Okay. So we have misconstrued what mindsets are. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is get clear what they are and what they're not. What a mindset is a belief. That's it. And what my psychologist friends say is what wires together fires together. And we're talking about neurons here. Okay. And I recently had this conversation about neurons, and what wires together fires together implies electricity. We have both electricity and chemicals in our brain that shoots these messages, right? But essentially, when neurons connect, or those synapses, right, connect, right, that is a belief. That's a mindset. Okay. So I just want to get clear. We're talking about beliefs here.
Yes.
We're not talking about resilience. It causes resilience. Mindsets cause resilience, but they aren't resilience. Okay.
Yes.
So the 5 mindsets are growth mindset. I believe I can improve. That's one mindset. Success mindset. I believe I can be successful. That is, in the education world, we call that self-efficacy. Belonging mindset. I believe I belong here. Value mindset is I believe this has value for me. And sometimes value mindset gets a little confused with I feel valued. And that is actually part of belonging mindset.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That
value
is
mindset is
key.
I believe this has value for me. So that's in the world of relevancy. This is relevant, useful, meaningful to me. That's value. And the last one is ownership mindset. I believe that by being responsible, I can change things.
Ooh, that's the one. Well, I will let you start wherever you want to start because it's your framework. But the ownership mindset, we always call it moving the problem and that displacement to other people when we start to accept that responsibility for our own
Yeah.
actions
Yeah.
is where the real shift happens.
Ironically, we cannot tell someone else to have an ownership mindset. We have to empower them and help them discover that.
And
So,
how do you do that?
yeah.
What are some steps there?
Okay, so ownership mindset is the most involved mindset
Ooh, okay.
because what I discovered about ownership is it involves 5 things. 5. We need 5 things for us to experience having ownership over something. One is a sense of agency, that I actually have the ability to do a thing, right? Am I allowed to do it? Am I right? Like some kind of sense of agency. And the other 4 things are the other 4 catalyst mindsets. I call it the rainbow of the mindsets. We need the rest of them. So it's actually, right? So we really can't go if someone is not experiencing ownership over something, we want to look at which other of the 4 mindsets needs support, or are we actually missing a sense of agency? I actually don't think I can impact this.
That is so key.
Yeah. So one of the frameworks I have is what I call an agency map. So one thing we want to look at is, where do I actually have agency in this situation? Right. So my school leaders listening, right? And if you want to help yourself have more ownership over something, or if you want to help someone else have more ownership over something, you want to help yourself or them look accurately at all of the little nuances of that situation to say, do I or they have in reality, actual agency? Some folks, and I know I'm speaking to folks that work in schools right now, in organizations, sometimes people think they need permission for something when they don't.
Say more about that.
So this is an internal and an external thing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's a both and experience. So my beautiful teachers are permission askers for the most part. They'll ask
So,
me permission. Yeah, I
well,
mean, yeah.
especially and people know this, the elementary, are absolutely
Yes.
permission seekers.
So we often make up that we need permission for something that we don't need permission for. Right? We're scared to make a decision or try something new or I don't know, like invent something because what if I'm not allowed to, or am I allowed to do that? Right? And instead we make up, oh, I'm not allowed to do that instead of asking. This is what our brains do, by the way, when we have something that's unknown. When there's a blank, we usually fill it with something,
Oh, yes.
right?
Right.
So the first thing we want to do around a sense of agency is ask. Instead of filling that blank with a statement, we want to fill that blank with a question.
And I'm talking to maybe people that have never had that advocacy agency. It doesn't have to be a grand question.
No, no.
Start small.
Right.
Start
Right.
small with the questioning.
Right.
What are your thoughts
Right.
on even where to begin?
Where to begin. So I think let me talk to folks about self-agency right now. First of all, if we're looking at our own ownership, like I feel like a victim in my marriage. Right. And first of all, let's just normalize that feeling. I lack ownership in some elements of my life. I'm sure you do too, Amanda. We all
Boy, do
do,
I.
right? And so on this continuum, we have growth mindset, fixed mindset, right? Two opposite ends of the continuum. Ownership mindset is ownership's on one end, victim is the other. Okay. I experience being in victim mindset sometimes. It's on a continuum. It's not yes or no. Also, all of these mindsets are on a continuum, right? So asking myself, because there are these 5 elements, right? First, where do I have choice in this? Where do I have choice in this? And where do I have any control over this? If I'm not sure if I have control over something and it involves someone else, like my partner, instead of deciding that I can't take Sunday morning to myself, I have to be with the kids. Right. I can't, weekends are for the family. Right. When in fact, secretly, I know I need about a half day to myself to be quiet. Right. Instead of assuming that I can't, we want to get into communication with other people. And so that might be asking a question and making a request. By the way, powerful requests. There are 3 responses to a powerful request. I can request anything of you, Amanda. Right. I could request that we get up and dance right now. Your response can be one of 3 things. I accept your request. You could be like, yes, we're doing this. I decline your request. No, Becca, I am unwilling to dance with you right now. Or you can counteroffer. You could be like,
Yes.
well, I like dancing maybe at the end of this episode. What people are afraid to do is make requests. We can make requests of our boss at work. We can make requests of the people that we lead. We can make requests of our children and our partners. And they have the agency to say yes, no, or counteroffer.
Do you find we have to set up some sort of parameters when making our requests?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I've been up to this point in my life, I've been married 20 years or I've been working. So my partner, my principal, my kids even have grown accustomed to here's how I'm going to respond. That when we start doing things differently, what does that look like? Do we have to in some way let them know what's coming? If we're making this change now, we acknowledge, we accept, we've got to do things differently. We've got to take hold our agency. What do we owe to those around us?
Yeah. I think letting them know what we're experiencing, right? Because I know, what you work with people is you're empowering them, right, in their midlife,
Yes.
right? And so we are looking to be empowered in this, and we want to empower the people around us to empower us. I'm not here to trample all over you. By the way,
Right.
in my younger years, I did. I was a bull in a
Same.
china shop.
Yes.
And I got some feedback around that feedback. But it's right. So how do I empower you to empower me? And so what I need to do is let you know my experience of life. Hey, I've been feeling really tired lately, right? And then my
Yes.
request, hey, right? Like,
Yes.
in what way have I been disempowered? And what am I committed to in this conversation? Right. And I use the term commitment all the time. And I think it's a very powerful phrase, right? And it doesn't have to be this way, but I do, what I'm committed to in this conversation is that I feel restored at the end of the weekend and that you do too.
And that's the power, is the conversation and the communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm kind of veering off, but another thing that you talk about are expectations, and that we just expect
Mhm.
people to respond
Mhm.
without communicating that. Then oftentimes it doesn't happen that way and we get frustrated.
Exactly. And one way that I teach, folks, a lot of times are like, Becca, how do I have tough conversations?
Yeah.
By the way, conversations don't need to be tough. We made that up. But in the context of what we're calling these things, the tough conversations, one main way that I teach how you start a tough conversation is you, first of all, this should not be the first time you're talking to someone ever. So as you've been talking to them before this conversation, what I want you, the leader or the person initiating this conversation, to know is what's important to them. If you don't know, do not have that tough conversation. Listen to them and figure out what is important to them. So when you are when you're starting this conversation, hey, I wanted to talk to you about X. In this conversation, what I'm really committed to is, and when I share that commitment, I already know what's important to them, or I have a strong sense of it. And I'm going to share what my intention is compared to theirs. It's called mutual purpose. So again, how do I empower the people around me, right? To empower me or to be empowered. Maybe I'm just here to empower them, right? What would empower me is that you were empowered, right? So what I'm committed to is this thing that I know we're both is actually important to both of us. I think it's super important that we are saying out loud why we're here in this conversation. Now I'm talking about, kind of what we call tough conversations.
Well, it's so key because I talk a lot about asking better questions,
Hmm.
and we tend to want to stay superficial and fluff.
Hmm.
And that's not really life. That's where so much of the frustration comes from, is because we're feeling it internally, but we won't have the conversation because we've been taught, especially as females, you're appearing bossy, you're demanding this, this, this. It's emotional. And it's like, no, that is the self care, that is the self advocacy that we need to empower and use and grow.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, service conversation does not create connection.
It
It doesn't
doesn't.
create connection.
Nope,
You
not
are
at all.
blah-blahing at each other. And what it does reinforce in organizations is a culture of niceness. And that, by the way, is the opposite mindset. Sorry, it's not the opposite mindset. It is, every mindset has a silent progress killer.
Oh, wow.
Every
Okay.
mindset has a silent progress killer that is in the waters that we swim in the culture, in our organizations. So the silent progress killer of belonging mindset is our culture of niceness. We would rather not rock the boat than be authentic with each other.
Right.
Right.
Well,
And
I've
that
seen it
removes connection.
because you want people to feel seen,
Yeah.
that you understand them.
Yeah.
And when you say stay superficial or a one size fits all, you're not seeing the individual. You're just barreling through,
Yep.
checking a
You're not.
box.
Yep. And
Yep.
you're teaching them subconsciously it is not okay to have conflict around here.
Ooh, that's a big one.
And healthy conflict is a sign of a healthy organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you work with people to start to accept that as part of the mindsets of, okay, I'm okay knowing there's going to be some conflict. I think we have the personalities of, yeah, we're good with that side. It doesn't mean I dislike you. We're going to turn around the next day and be fine. But other people within the organization.
Well, I consider myself a recovering perfectionist and a recovering people pleaser. So I actually very much know what it feels like to feel dysregulated around conflict. In my childhood experience, it was unsafe to be upset in the household. And so kind of grew up, and here I am an adult, and it is very dysregulating, right? So one thing that I want to name a couple ways that I get folks to be willing to shift from that culture of niceness to actual belonging and connection is understanding what is required to have people experience belonging. So there are three conditions for belonging. There's trust, connection, and safety. Part of safety, psychological safety, is that I can share critical feedback and I can question things publicly without being blamed, shamed, or embarrassed.
Yes.
So if we are going to create that in our organizations, if we're going to create that in our homes, conflict is part of that. So it's one thing, right? We have to be more committed to that than making everything seem nice and peaceful. And toxic positivity is one of those things. Toxic positivity is what I call putting icing on a mud pie. We are using positivity as a shield against what is real, and therefore we are discounting someone's very real lived experience, right? And sometimes we do
Yes.
that for ourselves, by the way. We say that to ourselves. Well, it is what it is. No, no. During the pandemic, I had a lot of people come on Zoom and say, "It's okay, I'm okay." They would like unload this like terrible thing that happened. "It's okay, I'm okay." And then I would say, "It's okay not to be okay." And then they would cry, right? Like, okay,
Yes.
now we have somewhere to go.
Right.
It's okay, I'm okay. No.
No.
It is what it is. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. Um, and so I think the other thing to deal with is our dysregulation around and acknowledging that as dysregulation. Here's the thing. We as adults, we actually know how to help children regulate,
Mhm.
right? The same strategies help us as adults. Things that we know, breathing, right? Just square breathing, 4 breaths in, 4 breaths hold, or 4 counts hold, 4 breaths, 4,
Yes.
out for 4 counts, hold for. There are lots of ways to regulate. You could look it up on AI.
Right.
All right, how
Yes,
do I
it will
regulate?
build a checklist for
Yeah,
you based on your
yep,
needs, but we don't want to use that on ourselves. We lose the
we
things that
lose
are
it.
good for kids that we need to continue this into adulthood. I say that all the time when people were like, "Oh my gosh, the kids." I'm like, "Oh, no, no, no. It was the adults." And I don't mean parents. I mean teachers, administrators, leaders. Like all of us hold the blame as adults.
Yeah, like, that's exactly it, yeah. So we need to, and it's about commitment. I need to be more committed to making a difference for myself and other people. I need to be more committed to empowering myself and other people than the discomfort and dysregulation it takes to do that. So what the psychologists call that is discomfort tolerance. Sorry, it's discomfort, yeah, discomfort, all the Ds. I've been making a lot
Yes.
of acronyms lately. I'm like, "What is the D?" Yeah, it's discomfort tolerance. We want to raise our willingness and ability to stay in discomfort.
I personally say a lot of I can hand people change. People could give me change. Obviously, strong researcher, a lot of reading. You know what to do, but until you actually get sick of your own bullshit and that level of discomfort and tolerance, the change and the shift really doesn't take effect.
Yeah, that's exactly because we're putting up with discomfort. If we're disempowered, we are already putting up with some discomfort. We just have to be willing to not put up with, right? But embrace the discomfort it sometimes takes to change. Right.
Yes.
So the acronym I use for general mindsets and especially growth mindset is GRID. So growth equals, this is like a little formula. Growth equals reflection plus informed action plus discomfort tolerance.
What are your strategies to implement there? What are some reflective tools that you like to use?
One thing is my professional noticing. One easy way to reflect is, so one is, hey, I'm uncomfortable. Hey, I don't like this. Hey, I'm disempowered in some way, right? Like, ugh, I've noticed like my oh crap moment. I've noticed I don't like this. I either don't like what they're doing. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't feel good. I don't even know why I don't feel good. Usually, we start with how we feel. I feel drained. I feel annoyed. I'm angry, right? So, first, I want to notice, hey, I don't like this, right? And then I want to ask. So, reflection is asking questions, right? Why is this happening? Right? And so, part of that reflection is doing some kind of diagnosis. Right. So what's cool is catalyst mindsets, you can use them to diagnose our own disempowerment, stuckness, and any kind of resistance internally or externally. It's all part of reflection.
Okay.
Right. So
Yes.
asking which of the mindsets are unsupported. Okay.
Okay.
Then I want to take informed action. So I'm not doing just anything. And this is the thing that drives me nuts in the leadership and coaching world. And I used to do, by the way. We're like, here's a coaching toolbox.
Right.
Here's a leadership toolbox. Like just use any of them. What are we doing here? Right? We don't do that with actual tools. Here's a wrench. Hang up this
Right.
painting. What?
Right.
Right? We have to
Yes. I
use
love that.
specific tools and strategies to address different needs. Going for a run won't help me with my marital problems. As a matter of fact, it might help me escape.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So once we've reflected and asked ourselves, okay, how do I feel? Where is this coming from? You could even ask yourself the 5 whys. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is that important? Why is that happening? Right? What's the actual problem here? Sometimes we solve our problems just in the reflection stage. Oh, I actually don't have a problem. Right? We discover something. And part of that is if I'm like, I'm actually really stuck or I'm resisting something. I want to ask myself, which of the 5 mindsets do I need support in? Once I've asked myself, am I lacking in my belief in improvement? Do I not believe I can succeed? My brother, by the way, he, he has struggled with his garden. He like has his garden. He loves it. And he's like, I've given up on my garden. I'm stuck. I can't. And so we went through the catalyst mindsets, and the one he is unsupported in is a success mindset. He doesn't actually believe by taking different actions that he can be successful in upkeeping his garden. He's like really stuck. Belonging mindset. Do I not believe I belong? I was talking to someone literally earlier today, and she was saying, I have an issue with my dance moms. She's like, I'm a dance mom, the other dance moms. And I asked her some questions, and it was her belonging mindset. She doesn't feel seen and heard in this dance mom community. Right. Do I not feel I belong? Do I not feel this is valuable for me? Like, let's tell the truth about it. Am I stuck in making progress because I don't think it actually has meaning, relevance, purpose? Right. And we got to take out our shoulds. Well, I should exercise every day. Well, hold on. Do you actually find value in this? Let's talk about
Yes.
this first. Right. And then, and the last one is, do I actually believe that by being responsible, I can change things? Right? Is it an agency issue? Plus any of the others, right? So I'll probably experience some kind of victimhood if I am not experiencing belonging, right? So remember that ownership mindset does require the other 4 to
Yes.
be supported, right? So this is all in the reflection stage. Then once have determined, oh, I actually I don't feel I belong here. Then I want to go to informed action. Then I'm going to use a strategy to increase my sense of belonging. I'm going to call another dance mom. I'm not a dance mom, but I'm going to call another dance mom and say, and create connection,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to start actively building that belonging because I, as a human with agency, can do that. I can build belonging around me. I don't have to wait for people to do it for me. Once I've taken informed, once I'm taking informed action, I might experience discomfort. And to be willing to be like, look, I'm anticipating discomfort, and that's okay. That's part of it. I'm practicing my tolerance for it. By the way, there's a part of our brain that gets larger the more discomfort we're willing to tolerate. It literally gets larger. It's like a little muscle and it gets bigger.
And I fully believe that. I'll just use myself as an example of meeting and knowing you. We talk about showing up in new spaces and
Mhm.
building connections and community. And you have to just be willing to talk to someone or hop on a call or hop on a Zoom with someone that you don't know, but that you know they're doing what you're doing. You want to get their advice, right? How
Mhm.
did you get to this place? Because I know what I'm doing isn't enough because I need the support and the people around me aren't in this business. I need support from someone else outside. But you've got to be brave enough to face that discomfort. They may not talk to me. Okay. That you send an email, you don't get a reply. Fine. Keep going, keep going. And what I found is the more I show up, the more you put yourself out there, the more amazing people and connection you build.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly it. Oh gosh, you said a thing and I wanted to I think acknowledging that as we put ourselves out there, and I call it like going on the skinny branches, right? It's nice and safe when you're hugging the trunk, but when you're like going out farther and farther
Yep.
out on those limbs, right? And then the wind's blowing and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing out here, right? That we sometimes, in my early days, I've been doing this for over 8 years. In my early days, when I'd send out emails and someone didn't reply, it would upset me. I would experience dysregulation because of that. I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? I'm constantly doing work on myself. And now it doesn't, but I had to practice that over and over again to be,
Yes.
and
Yes.
be like, the world is not ending. I am okay, right? We
Right.
are okay. I'm going to do some deep breathing, and it's not going to stop me from continuing in my commitment, right? And what I'm committed to in a very large way is empowering leaders to better support teachers around resistance to change and going beyond buy-in, right? So it's I'm and I think one of those questions people always like this, what am I more committed to? Right? What am I more committed to? Right, our actual commitment, like making a difference or staying safe.
And that is the piece when people will say, I could never do that. I could never go out on my own. I could never go out on the branch. But are you okay? Are you okay looking back at the end, hugging the tree? And if so, that's your life. There's no judgment. But it's understanding no one's going to do it for you. You, as the agency and empowerment, have to start the small steps. Don't leap all the way out. Start small. And it builds. That muscle builds.
It does, the muscle builds, and to have faith that it's going to. We go to the gym. When we walk into we have faith our muscle is gonna build. We're not like, "I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work." I
Right.
don't know. We're like, "Yeah, I
It
get when I
does.
lift the weights, my muscles get bigger and I get
Right.
stronger," right?
Right.
Same thing with our discomfort tolerance and our people pleasing and our perfectionism, that we will be able to be more and more empowered around these actions.
Well, I love that. And I really, I think that is a great place to start is the empowerment with action.
Yep.
And you know what? It's really little action we're going to take that is going to be, it's not going to kill us. I don't like that if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. No, but really, there are very few things that we decide to do that are going to be harmful. So, is it more harmful to stay where you are or to start putting yourself out there and actually know? Yeah, that's not me. That's not my personality. That's not what I want to do in a career, in a marriage, in a business. But you have to research yourself and know that and take action.
Yeah, exactly, and forgive ourselves when we make mistakes.
Yeah, that's the deal. And keep going. It's not a mistake, it's a learning opportunity. That's where the real growth mindset comes in of not just excusing it,
Mhm, mhm.
but growing from a mistake, something that didn't work out. Okay, how can we continue to go, not punish ourselves?
Yep, yep, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So, the catalyst mindsets, where can people find this?
So on my website, thewholeeducator.com, there is free resources. And so I have a number of resources for folks. There is a free ebook you can download. You can also take a free quiz. It's this fun interactive quiz where it takes about 5 minutes, and you can answer some questions about your team. If you're a leader and you have a team, you can answer questions about their own experience of resistance and what they do when change happens. And at the end, it'll actually tell you which mindset needs to be most supported with your team. So that's really cool. And then in the program section, if any of you are interested in kind of learning more about ways that you can, I do keynotes on resistance to change, buy-in, and the catalyst mindsets, as well as PDs and academies. If you just go to the program section, there's a nice, easy little one pager at the top. You're like, just give me the
Yes.
the 5 minute summary. And last but not least, I do have a podcast episode as well. So if folks want to kind of know more even about just coaching and leadership in a human-centered way in education, my podcast is Coaching the Whole Educator. I am having Amanda on very soon. That episode will go live. And so, yeah, we can check out Coaching the Whole Educator. It's on all of the major podcast platforms.
Excellent. I'm so excited just to grow and learn from you. I'm so appreciative. Just a few final questions. Are you a coffee drinker?
100%. I have
Okay.
my midday coffee right
Perfect.
here.
And what motivates you? You know, it's easy to sit up here and tell people what motivates you and what do your routines look like?
Gosh, this is big. Okay, I'll tell you this. What motivates me, I am wildly purpose driven. So for me, I have to find value in something to be motivated by it. And I struggle if I find myself having to be compliant. Like, okay, I have to do this, right? Like when I was employed, I had to do things. And it was very hard for me if I could not find personal value and purpose and meaning from it. So that one main thing is like purpose motivates me in doing things. And I will go to great lengths if I do find meaning and purpose in something. And then you asked, what was your other question?
Do you have regular routines,
Mhm.
habits that where let's just say you stay in the right mindset?
Yeah. So one thing I do every morning is I sit and when I drink my coffee, I brain dump. And what I mean, I don't want to call it journaling because it's kind of wacky. It's like I have my notebook, and then sometimes I write, it's whatever I want to write. Sometimes it's a list of things I have to do. Or sometimes I make like T charts, like things I'm worried about, things I'm excited about. Whatever. Sometimes I write a full page of my feelings. Sometimes I make lists of people I need to talk to. So I allow my brain to do whatever it needs to do while I'm drinking coffee. And it kind of feels like a companion that has no reaction. So that is absolutely a habit that I have. And one other thing that helps me stay empowered is I have a few playlists and I name them different things that when I need empowerment in different ways, I have that go-to playlist that I play. One of them is like energizing. Right. So I have my energizing songs and they don't make sense. I've had friends say, will you send me that playlist? And it makes no difference for them. So it is wildly personal and it makes no difference for other people. Right. So I want to say that like it doesn't help me to find someone else's energizing. Right. So I have my spiritual playlist that is not spiritual to anyone else but me. Right. And I have, my like feel better. I think it's called like feel better playlist or feel good. Cause I'm like, when I'm down, they are slow and sad songs, And so I really turn to music it's cathartic.
You are speaking my language. I typically do a playlist along with every episode. Just, yeah,
Hey,
music is, I would say, a big way that I make sense of things. But yes, it doesn't make sense to other people or that a lyric gets stuck in my head. And I'm like, how do you not connect this to that? You know, that Tom
yeah,
Petty song. And they're like, I have no idea what you're
yeah,
talking about. But
exactly. It's
I'm
so
like, that's why
personal.
it's my brain. Yeah.
Exactly. And one final thing that I do to really help me get empowered is I have friends in my life that I can call that will just listen to me and not give me unsolicited advice and coaching. And they are experts at having me feel heard. And those are my go-to people.
That is so important.
Mhm.
If you do not have the people or know who the people are, because a lot of times people think my friend for 20 years or my partner. it is quite honestly going to be where you least expect it. And not everyone's made to be that listener and empowerer.
Not everyone is skilled yet
Yeah.
to be
Thank
that
you for that
listener
growth
and
mindset.
yeah, and empower. They can be skilled and they might not be that yet. And everyone listening here deserves to be fully heard.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining. I love this conversation and learning from you. I'm just very appreciative of everything you've done for me to help me grow.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a really fun conversation.
Thank you for joining Midlife Catalyst, a place where ordinary people share extraordinary stories of growth at any age or stage of life. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure and hit the like button and give us a follow and subscribe so you don't miss a moment of any future episode. You never know where I may be or what my face might say. If you enjoyed today's show, leave a comment so I know what resonated with you. Be sure to share the episode with a friend who you think might benefit from today's story. I'm Amanda Yantz, and I am so grateful for you coming on this journey with me as I learn to fly. Remember, AI can do a lot, but it cannot write your life story. Be the CEO of your own life and write your own narrative. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you among the wildflowers.